It has started. Welcome back. Welcome back. How did the Kit Bash go? How'd it go? Phil, was it fun? Yeah? Okay. Good.
Crickets.
No, the purpose of this first week, some of you went a little extra, like trying to get those cool light shadow stuff, want to have some skies and making stars in the sky and stuff. I'm not going to be grading you on like the beautifulness of your shot, but I have to say I'm excited to see you wanting that for your work. Like you want it to look and feel good and you guys are doing it and that's wonderful. Some of you were just working on the structure, like just making a complete room and a complete space. That's fine. I did not teach you interior design fundamentals or architectural foundations. We didn't cover any of that. So I'm not going to grade you or expect you to know that. But I'm sure some of you might find yourself having a little bit of an appreciation for that skill set at this point as you're trying to create a room or a building and it's kind of hard to know like what will inform it and maybe looking at a lot of pictures or whatever. So if you get interested, that's the rabbit hole to go down, right? Also, the takeaway from that is to inform you a little bit of comfort in Unreal as you'll be doing a little bit more work and transition stuff into Unreal, but also to to really appreciate and understand how a modular kit works with itself, the versatility of it, how much you can create with just a handful of assets. You know, it's essentially a Lego kit for world builders, right? And some of you were like eager to play with the Legos. Well, environment artists make the kits, right? And designers, world builders make the levels using those kits. But it's not to say that you couldn't do that for your own work, especially if you're trying to create modular kits to be an environment artist. So that's what we're going to cover a little bit more today is now we're going to start making stuff. We're going to start making the actual assets. And today is going to focus a lot on the foundations of hand painting in Photoshop. So get ready. You're going to do some hand painted materials today. Don't expect it to be beautiful because the practice is necessary. This assignment had me go down a rabbit hole so deep that I ended up researching the Napoleonic Wars. Dang, Mitch, that is extra. That's, oh, well, good. Good for you. Awesome. Well, cool. So, I guess before we get started into the weeds of the assignment and into the weeds of the stuff we're gonna do, I'm really excited to start doing this with you, by the way. There's a couple of things I wanted to announce. We have a couple of announcements. Firstly, next Monday, the 17th, we do not have class. No class on Monday. We don't meet next Monday. It is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so
No.
take the holiday. What? Did I hear a sad noise? You guys are nerds. No, I want to go to school. I'm not going to give you more work to do on that day. I kind of feel like if you get a holiday, I should not just like postpone the work you have. So you get the day off for me. Which actually, well, I'll come back around to that. If we need more or less time to do the assignment, I can, and of course I'm willing to give you extensions as needed. And I'm very likely to, with this next assignment, depending on how far we go, extend that through Tuesday of next week rather than Sunday. Kind of helps everybody anyway. But it just kind of depends on how much we get through today. Might have ended up buying a new video game and several books because of that. Well, I mean, the Napoleonic Wars were pretty fascinating, and history is fascinating. So I'm kind of glad that that sparked a little curiosity for you. That's cool. I'm really happy to hear that. All right. Let's see. I have my notes. I have notes. I like to cosplay as somebody that has their act together. Okay, next thing I wanted to cover before we get started, another announcement. Is anybody familiar with the game jam? Know what a game jam is? Yeah? Okay, Mitch knows what's up. I see some nods. I see Brandon going, yeah. Maybe Trevor, I can't tell. Yeah, okay. Anybody familiar with Global Game Jam? Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, I'm gonna brag a little, just a little bit. Thanks to yours truly and coming fresh off the game industry when I started working here, I was able to, among working with other people here at Bellevue College, I was able to secure Bellevue College as one of the official venues for Global Game Jam. Now, that's like I get really pumped at that accomplishment because there's only two in the state of Washington, and that Bellevue College could be one of them, and the Seattle Indies at the Seattle Science Center is the second. We get to work with them in coordinating that space. And so what that really means for you, the TLDR is you're going to have an opportunity for extra credit if you want to do it. If you're not interested in doing the game jam, that's okay. You could just forget everything I'm about to say. But Global Game Jam is a global event where in one weekend, approximately, I think we'll even have a few extra days this time, you get together with a group of friends or a party to be named later to make a video game in approximately 48 hours. It's a little bit slumber party, a little bit crunch, but it's all meant to be in fun and not meant to be taken as any kind of like intense competition or a requirement for your grade, because it's none of those things. But I found that the students that participate look forward to this every year, and every year we get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. Because we're only one of two venues, that means that local artists and developers who are currently working and want to participate in Game Jam will come here or there, usually here, because there fills up so quickly and they don't have as much space. Mitch, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I encourage people to do this because I'm going to say something positive here. This is really great. This is a really great experience.
Oh, that's nice of you to say.
Yeah, and it's not a competition. Last time I basically made a level in a Doom mod.
I remembered. It was so good.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to even have a finished thing. It's a great opportunity to get started on your project.
Mm-hmm. I've had students connect with indie developers and indie designers at these game jam events that wind up working with them when they graduate. It's kind of a cool way for you to have an opportunity to network very organically. So one of the bigger questions I've had is like, how well, do we have to have our team? Do we pick a team? Like, how do we do this? We have a few events taking place that help you find a team if you need help. So usually after we get the theme, we'll offer free presentations for anybody who gets like an idea and they want to pitch it to everybody, and then people just kind of flock to those ideas. Otherwise, you can let me or any one of the other moderators know, and we will put you with a team that is like that has a need for your skill set. I found that like you don't even really have to make a game to still have fun with this, because you can use the theme to just create an art pocket. It doesn't have to be a functional game. You just make some 3D art pocket in that, which is where I would come into offering you extra credit. Now, the event in the past has run over 3 days. It might run a little longer casually leading up to it, because it being online has made it a lot more accessible for a lot of people. But you're basically going to have a chance to have as much as an entire assignment in extra credit if you were to participate fully in the jam. And I don't make you do like all or nothing. If you'd like to just maybe show up and observe, there's a few points there for you. If you only want to do 1 day versus 3, totally understandable. It's often over the weekend, but with, I think, some participation options leading up to it, you don't have to give up your weekend if that's not something that you're comfortable doing. But I do want to encourage everyone to participate if you'd like. Details to come, including where to sign up for that. And if you have any questions, you could definitely reach out to me, since I'm one of the folks organizing this group. Cool. And thank you for that plug, Mitch. That was nice. I appreciate that.
No problem.
You all know how hard it is to please Mitch, too. he's tough. He's a tough sell. All right. Follow up. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so I'm sure some of you are getting some ideas about like what kind of construction you'd like to do, either your building or interior space. You have lots of time to continue to think about that as you go down that rabbit hole. But today I'm going to be talking about something called a trim sheet. Has anybody heard of this before?
Heard of it.
Heard of it. Okay. You
From
maybe
you.
have heard me say it in
Yeah.
passing for all you. Yeah, fair. Okay. Let's go down a rabbit hole together. Okay. Google, what is a trim sheet? Let's see what I've Googled before. Boom, boom. Trim sheets. So, a trim sheet is a method of creating a material for 3D assets in a bit more of a modular way. Now, you were playing out with modular kits. It's a whole 3D structure that you were creating another structure with. It's kind of where modularity comes into play. You can reuse it over and over again to suit your purposes. A trim sheet is like that, but for materials. It is a modular material type. So you're going to see this a lot with structures like this. This is probably closer to what we'll be doing today, something like that. Where what we're doing is you create the material first and then use the material to inform the UVs of a structure. So for our first assignment with a trim sheet, we're going to make something pretty simple. We're going to make a fountain akin to this. Though for this first run at it, we're going to do this all hand painted. We're not going to be going into Substance Painter just yet. And all of those, because I know you guys want to get heavy into the tech of it, and I want you to. You'll have your chance. But first, before you can really be dangerous in Substance Painter, you have to be a painter. And we're going to have to, I think, flex and practice our and exercise, basically, practice our hand painting skills. Does that make anybody a little uncomfortable? Maybe?
Only a little bit. I was not really able to fully grasp text during last class, so
Okay.
that's a me thing.
Sure.
You ask. So
I wanted to know. So this is tricky. Some of you will get really pumped about this idea about like getting in there and hand painting. Others are already maybe seizing up a bit. Now, what I am not going to do is grade you on how nice I think your trim sheet looks. But I will be grading you on your progress. So this makes the work in progress a bit more important. Do we have to use Photoshop only? Yes, you do. Did you have another application that you wanted to use in lieu of Photoshop? Seba? Clip Paint Studio, okay. Do you not have access to Photoshop? Is there a technical hurdle? If there is a technical hurdle, we can talk after class. But this assignment does need to be in Photoshop unless otherwise specified by me. And the reason is because Photoshop is industry standard. It's what's in the studios. And I know some of you are probably not super comfortable in Photoshop if you're used to other software. And there, in the 3D pipeline, Photoshop is kind of dominating, and there's a reason that Adobe bought Substance for that reason. Bellevue gives Creative Cloud for free, so you don't have to purchase. Correct. That is correct. Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, that was going to be my follow-up, so it's perfect that you mentioned that now. In order to get it, all you have to do is log in with your Bellevue College credentials into the Creative Cloud, and you can get basically the whole Creative Cloud suite for the rest of the quarter. Maybe even 6 months. I know Adobe does weird time turnarounds that don't necessarily align with our quarters. So, yep, the point is we will be doing this Photoshop. I'm also going to recommend that you do it in Photoshop because a lot of the techniques and tools that I show you will be in Photoshop. So hotkeys and ways of editing your brush, all that will be there. And that's what I'll be showing you. So if you might actually find it a bigger hurdle otherwise. Okay, but good questions. Good questions. Okay. So, all right, let's kind of get started. This is kind of a great reference here. I'm not going to go too deep into the weeds of detail that I want to like directly rip. I kind of want this first exercise to feel more like a sketch. And as we build out what a trim sheet will look like. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Let's see. I'm gonna look up some fountains, garden fountains, because this is going to be closer to what I would like for you to be modeling. This is a little intense. We don't have to worry about that, but I do like what's happening here in terms of detail. Don't want to worry about that. Like it says, it's gonna be a sketch. Well, we could stick to this. Fun. Okay, don't get it in your head to start making these lion structure things. You calm down with that. Now, wait, if you want to work on a portfolio piece in the future, what you could do is use this assignment as something you can build on later. Because I don't want you getting into the weeds about sculpting. I mean, this line would take me a week to do. And I'm pretty fast. No, it wouldn't. It would take me like 2 days. But still, there'd be a lot of work to do. No. But in the future, you can. Future, you definitely can. Because if you build a structure for the actual like fountain to start, you can add to it later. And that is actually kind of fun. But what we're going to be looking at is, I think, this 3-tiered system. And what you'll see in a lot of these is that we have a nice repeating pattern following around. Oh, of course, you don't see it now. Maybe I can do this. There we go. You see how we've got a repeating pattern along here? In a trim sheet, a proper trim sheet, it tiles on one axis. Do you understand what I say when I say it tiles on one axis? I feel like I have mentioned that before and it didn't quite stick. Yes. Okay. Right. Good. If not, don't worry. We will get there. So I guess let's get started. Shoot. Let's get to it. Bam. Da. Don't forget the sound effects. That makes this all so much easier. Okay. All right. So the first thing that I'd like to recommend is the use of a tablet. I'll be looking down because I've got a tablet right here. I'll be using a Wacom tablet. Technically, this is a Cintiq. I love Cintiqs because they do kind of take the learning curve off of drawing down while looking up, but they're expensive. So I get if you can't have access to a Cintiq or a drawing tablet where you draw directly onto the page. Can you use a Photoshop, or can you use an iPad? No. Not because I don't think it's actually a valuable experience. It's kind of great for traveling and sketching, but it's not okay as a substitute for digital artwork. And don't get me wrong, I love Procreate. It's incredible, but it's a hobbyist's tool, or simply an illustrator's tool if you can manage to sell your prints just like on your own. But what it's not really is a 2D to 3D pipeline tool is what it's not. So you will have to work on your computer into Photoshop, and the use of a tablet will be helpful to you if you really are avoiding it. I don't know why, but you can. I'm not going to require you to use a tablet. Well, first off, I don't think I could do that with a conscience, especially how much they cost. But, we can actually talk about that for a second too, as well. Because if we're going to look at the cost of Wacom tablet, they can run about $70. I think I've seen them as low as like 40. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, $60. Yeah, anywhere from about around 50 to a couple $1,000 easily.
So I've got I'm gonna say, like, the intros, it's great. Like, I have a Cintiq and I actually still prefer using the intros. Because once you get used to it, it's just amazing to use.
Yep.
This is like $70 and it's well worth it.
It is. So Wacom, or Wacom, or I'm not sure where you put the emphasis on it. Excuse me. I took a bite of chicken and it went down the wrong pipe. Did it to myself. Okay. Wacom or Wacom, depending on who you talk to, those typically tend to be the industry standard, but this part is a little bit more or less personal preference. They are the brand name. They are the ones that the professional artists use. And if I'm being honest, I think that that's probably more to do with the status quo of having the nice stuff. But you can get them for more reasonable. But there's some other tablets that you can use, or drawing tablets that will also work. I think it was Huron. Let's see what some of the brands that we have out are. Yeah, Huron is going to be a considerably better bargain for what you get. But if you're really just looking for a tablet to draw on, I've used the Intuos before. So thank you very much for sharing as well. Now, in school, I see graphics card prices and get sad. I know. For those of you that are trying to upgrade your computers, can't go into too much detail about that in terms of like the why, because that's a very quick sidebar conversation. But I do know that Newegg offers lotteries every morning. That they don't give free stuff away, but what they do offer is at correct price purchases of things like graphics card. So if you're not in need of a quick turnaround and you have a couple of weeks and you're in the market, if you get on that, you might actually score with a little bit of luck. Honestly, it's better to just buy a new rebuilt than graphics card at this point. Yeah, it depends on where you go. Okay, before we get too far into that rabbit hole. Again, it's not a requirement for the assignment, but I'm going to strongly recommend the use of a tablet or access to one, or finally a purchase of one if you're serious about doing digital art, including 3D work. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with a brand new document. Do you remember the sizes of files that are acceptable for textures in 3D?
Isn't it like
Depends.
I was just gonna say like the 512, the 1080, the 2048, it's all by
Yes.
the twos.
Power of two. Excellent. Thank you, Alex. That's correct. Tim, calm down, but you're not wrong. And yeah, I think, Mitch, you were about to be correct as well. So yes. All right. So what we mean by the power of two, as a quick refresher, is that it is exponentially in the power of two, meaning it is 2, 4, 6, 8, 16, 32. And you see where that's going, from 32 to 64, 64 to 128, 256, 512, et cetera, et cetera. Now, your monitors are likely 2K at the high end, so doing a 4096 like Tim is suggesting is borderline foolish, only because the 3D asset itself is probably not even going to take up your whole screen, and the texture would be that whole resolution. Now, on the high level, like, you really don't want to go any higher than 4096. Unreal will support an 8K, which is 8,000. I don't even remember the number, but don't though. Really unnecessary. Using a 4K texture is a lot of space and draw calls, though Unreal does a pretty good job optimizing it, but probably not necessary at this case. However, I do not mind going a little bit high res with this first texture. And even if you start with a 4096 to illustrate, down resing from a higher resolution is always going to preserve more details than up resing from a low foundation. So, like, just to kind of prove my point, let's actually I'm gonna make this first one here 512 by 512. That is a comfortable material. I ain't mad at 512 by 512. So I'm gonna start there, and I'm going to very quickly paint some stuff I am an artist. So good. So good. Gosh, I'm so good. Okay. Up close, that's what that looks like. Cool, cool, cool. All right. I'm going to save my document. I'll call this 512 to up, just to prove my point. And I don't want to save this as a PDF. I want to save it as a PSD. Boop, boop. Okay. Now, this is as high. That's okay. When I start to get in there, it's a little fuzzy. I don't know if you can see that. It's fine. But let's say that like, woo, I made it. It looks good. I would like this to now be 1024 so that I can have that sexy resolution. Let's go. I'll go to images, or sorry, image size, and I'm gonna go ahead and double it. But I don't really want this in inches. I actually want this in pixels. So I'm gonna switch this to pixels. Thank you for the 512. I appreciate it, but I'm gonna do 1024. Cool. All right. Now, ooh, okay. Well, what if I were to paint in here? See how much crisper my line is, and I'm already starting to lose detail? So scaling an object up, never ever good. However, if I were to start with this and scale it down, I will preserve a lot more of this information going the other way. So I don't mind. I really don't. Starting at a higher resolution than you intend to output. So for now, I say what we should do is actually make this puppy 2048 to start. Because I'll down res it to 1024 eventually. All right, so to start that, I'm gonna just delete that. Don't need that anymore. Blech. And let's get started with actually painting this thing. Now, what are we painting? So what I'm going to be doing is I'm just gonna have a couple of these guys in front of me. What I'm looking at are, I'll just copy this paste. I like this trim here. This is the part that I want to steal. And I say that word affectionately. It won't let me do it, will it? Okay, well, I'll just get in there and get a little rough with it. That's okay. So print. Screen. All right. I'm gonna paste that in here. And what I'm looking at here are the shapes that this is making. This is a great reference. Don't look at this. This is a great reference. What this is doing, this is even giving me the silhouette of the shape that's happening here. We've got like a whoosh straight down and in, and then a little circle and a bigger circle, down and a do. I love that. I love what I'm seeing here. This is something that I'm gonna try to replicate. I like that. That is great. I want that. Okay. All right. I'm gonna leave this little puppy here. Actually, I know what I'm gonna do. Control new. From my clipboard, what I hit is a Control N to make a new scene. And since I've already like copied on my clipboard this image, I will just use this resolution. But all I'm doing with this is just saving my reference. Something that I like to do when I'm setting up my paint, my workspace, is that I like to have my references also visible for me. So I'm gonna just like, ooh, little dock there, cool, and make that a little tighter. Zoom in closer so I can have that nice and present for me. Love that. And this guy, I'll go ahead and delete. Oops. Don't need that at all. So looking at this, I want to recreate this, but in a trim. And I want to do it in the context of a 3D trim. And let's look at, do I have, okay. Trim sheet. And I think what I will do is I will also keep a reference of a trim sheet in front of us as well, so that we never lose that context. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm doing this right here. All right, trim sheet found. Right, love this image. Original artist, gonna show me. Oh, okay, that's fine. original artist Anton Moro, which I've saved in the details of the image, but it didn't show it, so sorry about that. Okay. Control N. I'm going to pop that puppy here. Drag that over here. Great. So I've got a trim sheet reference and a reference of what I want to try to make here. This is great. This is super, super good. All right, so when we come back to our trim sheet, I'm going to recommend that the first step you do always is to get the white off the canvas. It almost doesn't even matter what color you put on here. This white is very uncomfortable for the eye. I just want to ask about that downsizing from high res to low res. Did you have a question to ask about that, or were you just commenting on what I had mentioned before?
Oh, I was just going to comment. That's usually what I do is I do really high res and I just bring it down to keep all the detail.
So yeah, same. I prefer that method. All right. So what I want to do here is I'm looking at this guy. I like that this is white because it gives us very little to worry about in terms of color. So I'm going to probably just stick with black and white for now. But you know what? I'm definitely not. I hate doing that. Black and white is really not what you ever want to work in, if I'm being honest. So part of me thought like, well, let's just do that to make it simple. But I don't want to get you guys into a bad habit to start. So this is a fine color. I don't love it. So I'm probably going to stick with a more pleasing color. No. I have provided for you for your time a few color theory videos that I might recommend for you if you are interested in better illustration practices. So in here I've provided ambient occlusion and ambient light for painters and understanding shadow colors. These are excellent breakdowns of why a lot of our color theory rules work in the first place. So please check them out and nerd out about them. It's really good stuff. It'll make your work better. Just facts. But to the point, which is that's gonna take me to why I'm going to be choosing the colors that I'm choosing. For now, it almost doesn't matter too much what family we're in, as long as it remains in the lower saturation kind of area. Dirts and grime tend to be in the warmths. You'll see here like sand is a very orange color. Even stone tend to be even further on the lower saturation. And something that you may not have known before is that choosing color outside of the center of this color picker is kind of in the fantastical family. Frankly, these colors on the outside do not really exist in our reality usually, that aren't like very, very man-made. For example, highlighter pens or you know, RGB lighting, right? Like in and of itself doesn't, this kind of lighting effect is not considered natural. So if you're going for any kind of realism, you're going to want to stay in what we call the Goldilocks zone, which is anywhere from within this box. So with that in mind, I'm just going to pick this color here because it's right in the Goldilocks box. Like I said, it almost doesn't matter what color here, but I like it in the warmths because that feels very, very earth-like. I'm picking this puppy here, and now I'm going to go, oops-a-daisy. I have the wrong tool selected. I had gradient tool. So if you hit the hotkey G, and I realized I should probably have my Noah board up. Noah board. Please and thank you. There we go. If I hit G, I'll select the paint bucket, but it's also the same tool as the gradient tool. So if I just hold that down really quick, I can toggle between each one, and I want the paint bucket. Oops, daisy. Make sure you've got the background selected. And I'm going to color the whole scene that color. I like it. It's not exactly the same color as what we have over here, but that's fine with me. It's a very mid-tone, meaning I think I'd like to actually lighten it up when I'm doing my sculpting, is I'm actually going to be sculpting a little bit in 2D, which is something I'm pretty excited about. So let's go ahead and take off the, I think what I'm going to do, I am sorry about this for the video, but I think I'm going to remove the chat for now. I do have you up. You're right in front of me. Sorry about that. but this way we can see the whole UI. Or, you know, maybe better yet, it would be better to put you here, and I just, you know, remove my mug. You don't need to see my mug, but you do want to see the middle board. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. All right, so this is what we're going to try to do. We're going to actually come in here and do some lightening or darkening of this here. So let's go ahead and choose a color now. I'm actually going to work with mostly paint. I know that you can burn and dodge. That is something you may do if you'd like. But I'm going to stick with color choice because I'm trying to practice my color theory a little bit more. When we're working in light, shadows are the absence of light. Meaning if you have a warm light, you tend to want to choose slightly more cooler in the shadow. And if you want to add warm light to the scene or to the highlight, you would choose a slightly warmer tone. But when we do that, it does not mean what you want to do is just switch over to cold and then darken it because what you've done is you've created, oops daisy, you've created like a very not natural, oh for goodness sake, I keep doing the wrong hotkey. This is not normally a shadow color on something like this. That's not really how shadows work. Now this could hypothetically get you some cool or more interesting illustration technique, but what we want is when we're talking about cooling it off, we move it closer to the cool spectrum in the color wheel, but not necessarily moving it over too cold exactly. Now, what does that actually look like? We're going to talk about this. Color wheel. Give me color wheel. What is color wheel? All right. I love this guy. Copy. Put it over here. New image. Okay. This puppy over here. This is very, very high res. Oops daisy. Okay. So when we're looking at the color wheel here, when I'm in this family and the cool is over here, the most direct route to the cool is just less saturation, because what we're not doing is we're not moving along the spectrum of hue. We're trying to get as close as we can through the wheel. And I think that a lot of people make that mistake. So rather than, when I'm in the warmth over here, probably this category, and I want to go this way, I think this through here is going to be the coolest path, which is really weird because it kind of feels like we're going warmer first to do that. But in order to go there, we don't go in higher saturation of red to do it. We go lower sat, almost pink and gray. So let's go ahead and move this closer. But less saturation. And now watch this. This is some of my favorite stuff. I'm gonna add a, oh, why did I do that? I just did it again. I keep hitting the wrong hotkey. Oh, that's actually okay. And darker, because this is a shadow. Okay. That line is actually considerably cooler compared to what we have here. Now I'm holding down Shift, but I keep hitting Alt. That feels cooler, doesn't it? Even though on the spectrum, on the color wheel, it's technically a hotter hue. And the reason that works is because we followed the rules when we moved closer to the cool. We went through red family, but we went to lower saturation red, and of course slightly darker for the shadow. That's why that's working together so well. So, all right, now this is what I'm starting to actually frame now. What I want to do using my new shadow, and you know, this is something that I'm going to recommend for you to do because I've been doing this for a while, but I've not been doing it in Photoshop for a while. I've been doing it mostly in Substance Painter. my hotkey memory isn't super great. So what I'm going to do is that while I choose my colors, I'm going to make a little swatch. So in a layer, I will make a color swatch here. Let's do it. I'm going to call this my color palette, so that I've got something that I can often just hit I, and then pick my color as needed. Now, one of my favorite hotkeys when doing this is X. It will toggle my two colors I've used most recently. Okay, so I've got my shadow and my midtone. So my midtone, I probably don't really need to do too much, but I'm gonna pick a color now that's going to be closer to the light I would like to do. And the light, I think I can go slightly more saturated and slightly more yellow, because I want it to resemble sunlight. That's just my call. You do you, right? But that is what should be informing that choice. So let's do it. And for my light, let's move you slightly warmer, lighter, and slightly to the saturation, just a little bit. Ugh, come on. Oh, too much. Yeah, I like it. Might be a little on the high level, but that's okay. Okay. Okay, so now that I got my colors there, that's what I'm gonna stick with. And I'm actually going to not use 100% opacity on my brushes. I kind of want this to be lower. I don't like to work in 100%, like all or nothing. So while I've got my brush tool selected, I will put this at, let's say 50%. All right, let's see what that looks like. Well, that's nice. That's a nice light on there. Okay. So now let's take a look at this shape. Do you remember how when I was talking about 3D modeling a long time ago, and we were discussing the order of operations? We've got big shapes, silhouette, medium, then small, right? Does everybody remember that? Hopefully, yes.
Yeah.
Because that stays true here too. Good. Okay. Remember that. Very easy to kind of get into the weeds of wanting to get into little cracks and little things and stuff. We're not going to worry about that right now. We just want to make sure that we're getting the shape down first. And that includes how we're going to like actually simulate that in 2D space. All right, so we'll just get started for a minute, and I'm going to show you a couple of quick brush techniques. Oh, oopsie daisy, I used the wrong one because I want to see your faces. There we go. All right. Now, I like to operate organized. I say that knowing full well that I'm not super organized. So I'm gonna try. So we'll start with shadows. 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 Or shade. I'll call it shade. We're gonna throw some shade at it. And then the lighting. I'll call it lit. Because I'm a nerd. Alright. So hopefully here, when I am doing my lighting, I would like to try to keep that here. Oh, that's actually kind of cool. You can already see a bit of depth occurring here. It's almost like light is hitting it from the top. How I usually tend to shade is I typically light things as though the light is in the top left corner. That's super default. You could do whatever you want, but that's kind of how I tend to go at it. And it already looks like this is beveled, right? And that's what we're going to do with this trim sheet for now. Now that I have this first bevel here, what I'd like to do is show you how we can soften these edges without getting too much into the weeds. Of like, let's find a brush, and then if I hit F5, great tool, I can actually oh, that's not it. F5. Is it not F5? Yeah, it's F5. F5, I can choose a different brush, and maybe we can soften the brush, and I can create a custom. You can do all of that, but I'll show you a quicker way to kind of hack it in the meantime, right? So while I've got this here, what if I wanted to soften this edge on the top to make it more smooth and round, as though it were this beveled shape right here, this like more softer one? If I go to the smudge tool, this is one of my favorite toolsies. Hit F5 to bring up the brush stroke. I've already got like a brush scatter here, but let's say that that's not what you see. You're not going to see the same thing I see. You will probably have something like this chosen for your smudge. Now, this is what it does. This is what the smudge tool does. Cool, Not what we want though. And also, wow, that was like really intense how long that took. So I'm gonna show you a slight hack here. If I turn on the size control into pen pressure, this has to do with my tablet. You don't have to do this if you're working in a mouse. And I turn on scatter. In the scatter, I just slightly tweak this to have a little bit of a wobble, just a little wobble. Then what I can do, add an exit out of that. Yep. Gotta turn the strength up, else you can't see it. You've got this cool kind of smudgy function, which I really love. So I'm gonna come back over here and adjust my guy a little bit. It's very big. Okay, 50%. 100% too much. Oh no, how do I redo? Oh, that's okay. Put this guy back in. Ooh. And start smudging. The old hotkey for smudge used to be R, so I make that mess a lot. Ooh. I don't like this smudge brush. I'm gonna keep editing it. And I think I'll take off the pen pressure. Maybe that'll help. Oh, that's better. Ooh, because that pen pressure is making me mad. And the strength is still a little much, so I'll pop that down to 30, like it was by default. And now you can see that I'm already kind of getting that soft. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. I do like that. A little intense, but like that. Yes, I know. My Wacom is trying to help me, and it's just getting in my way instead. 20%. And let's go ahead and... Okay. Let's see about doing the same thing with our shadow. I'm going to just do one side of it. Just... Oops. Okay, it's thinking because I've got it very high res. Did it a little much. Undo, undo, undo. Cool. Awesome. All right, I already got some depth here. This is cool. It's cute. All right, we're at 122. Awesome, awesome. Now that we kind of have our handle on what we would choose for a high and a low in our value, high and a low value, we've got some color stuff. We're starting to see some depth here. What I would like for you to do is take this knowledge and try to apply it to the creating shape of this or a reference that you would prefer, of something like this. So we've got like we know that this goes. I will put a little reference here. We know that this goes doot, probably doot. Then maybe back here. Then we've got a little whoop, 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 or it's probably a little aggressive, but like a smooth curve. And then it looks like there's a hoot, doot, and a little doot, doot, doot. Don't forget the sound effects. Very, very important. In fact, I think I might actually prefer we make up our own. Yeah, I'm gonna make up my own. Shoot. Gonna do bevel, big bevel, and an in, and a doot, 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 doot. This is what I just came up with right now. Make up your own. Remember, this is supposed to be a sketch exercise. And so that means what I want to do now is I want to try to shade this to fit this silhouette, right? So for me, pull up my color palette here and come back over here to you and you. Close that off. This is just my reference. I'll come back over here to my shade. Oh, what did I do with my lip? Oh, I must have deleted it. Oh well, that's fine. Following this level, that's fine. I'll just keep it together. Okay, so now I know that I think from here to here, we've got a this shaded here. I'm gonna just kind of that. You know what I'll do is I'll make you bigger. I'll just make the brush bigger. Oh, to make the brushes bigger or larger in Photoshop, you can use the open and close bracket. That's what does that. You can't see it on my hotkey there because it's on the left side of the screen or the left side of the keyboard. But I'll do it like this. Yeah. Okay. And then I want shadow there. This guy's gonna get a little tricky as we'll have to smudge it a little bit, kind of recreate it up here like as we did up here. Really what I could probably do. Oh man, I'll just cheat. Let's just cheat. Why not? Shoot. Okay. All right. So I'll choose the marquee tool and select the area that I want to copy. And I will select V and then hold down Alt. This is my favorite trick. That just copies it right there. And what's my favorite part is I can squeeze it to be tiny. Now this could be tiny for my purposes here. Wonderful. Yes, please. More of that. Oh yeah. Squeeze you again. Squeezing for tininess. Very important. Right. Right. Like that now. You know what's happening? Very cool. Very cool as we make this trim sheet and keep going with it. All right. Which brush are you using? This is a great question. The brush I'm using is whatever was on here because it almost doesn't matter what brush I'm using. But if you wanted to know, I'm using, I think like one of these rounded stiff ones. Looks like that. Rounded stiff, pointy, rounded stiff one here. It almost really doesn't matter. In fact, I'd actually recommend you playing around with a brush that you prefer. And just play with it because some of these textures will make some really cool stuff. Now, we're only really worrying about the shape right now, and that means, oops, daisy. And that means trying to emulate this shape as a texture as we go across. I want everybody to take the next, it will be 30 minutes, but really it's 20 minutes plus a 10-minute break. I'd like everybody to take the next half hour practicing what we have here. Because at the end of that half hour, you will be sharing it with each other in some small groups and you will post it. Actually, why don't I just kind of cover that now so you know what to do. You just get to it. Get to it. You're going to post a work in progress of your hand-painted trim that I just showed you now. You have been randomly moved into one of 4 groups. So there should be groups of between 1 and 5 since there are 20 people total in the class. And what you all have to do is just post an embedded PNG of your work in progress of what we covered just now. Share it here with each other, and then I'll be giving you guys some time in class to discuss it. You can talk about what's frustrating you, where maybe something I said or did that's confusing you. This gives me great context. Or maybe tricks or hacks that you know of and you like to share with each other. Okay? So everybody take the next 30 minutes to practice. And then well, take 20 minutes plus a 10-minute break, but I kind of know that a lot of people just do 30 minutes of practice. And then when we come back at 2 p.m., we will do a quick, like, hangout session with each other, and we'll keep going. Can we see yours as an example? Heck yeah. You know what I'll do is I'll even post what I painted here in the chat for you to see. Like, yeah, I'll watch me do it right now. It'll be great. Yeah. Here's what I'll do. So what I'm going to do, and this is probably good context for you to know too, so you know like how to save this. We're going to go ahead and do a quick export as quick PNG. This is going to be the fastest way to get what you want, right? So I will do this, and I'll call that my old image. I'll call this trim practice whip. That there. And I'll add it to our chat here. Click again, draggy. Do. So now hopefully you should have access to progress on that. Now try to go as complete as you can, but it's okay if you get about as far as I did. I do a lot of talking between paintings, so I don't go nearly as fast when I'm normally going, because I really wanted to talk about why I'm making all the decisions I'm making. How do we pull up the brush menu in Photoshop? Great question. So when you have Photoshop open, hit F5, and it popped it up over here for me. F5 pulls this up, and if you hit brushes, it'll pull up this menu where you can choose a brush that feels fun for you to be funky with. And this is a great time to experiment, y'all. I'm not going to make sure that you're doing exactly what I'm doing. Though, if you want to, I understand why. Sure, like, let's take the guesswork out of it. Okay. All right, everyone. I am still here in the call. So I'll go ahead and leave this up for you here if you'd like, but take this time to practice at your speed, how you prefer. I went through everybody's post, and I am overwhelmed at how cool y'all's stuff is looking. Like, very excited. How are y'all feeling about it? How are y'all feeling? Now you've had a chance to look at what each other are doing. How you doing?
I kind of just want to see this applied onto a model because it's like it's still 2D for me, and I'm like, I see what it's supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Yeah.
want to see it on a model just to see how, like,
Okay.
because I've never seen this whole process go through before.
You're right. And so what I'm showing you is this like hand painted method, which is still a very common practice in the industry today, but only typically with like very stylized stuff. However, these fundamentals will inform your decisions using tools like Substance Painter later. So I'm very excited to start showing you. And what I'm going to do now is demonstrate a little bit how this will now in turn like inform how we model a little bit. Now, I don't want you to get too in the weeds with what I show you right now into doing the 3D model just yet, because we're going to spend all day on Wednesday doing that. We're going to model and actually apply it to the mesh. So I'd like to see, how's everybody doing with the 2D painting? Are we getting more comfortable?
Discovered a secret.
Oh, what's your secret?
Use the boundary box, the marching ants.
Yes, that helps a lot. Definitely will even like remove and make like a real nice hard edge for you.
That's exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's keep going a little bit because I'm not going to spend too much more time into the painting area, but let's go ahead into right here. So this is what I've got so far. I didn't do much else, but just kind of continue the path of what's happening here. There is one quick hard edge I would like to make though, and I'm going to take up Tim's advice right there and just make a quick hard edge. Voila. I am not yet happy with where this is going. Not yet. I will be soon though. Like I will be very soon. Just not there quite yet. I'm going to actually make this hard.
I can't take the credit for it, actually.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. I like that. I'll leave that alone for now. There's more I'd like to continue to paint here, and I will, because we're going to keep going with this. But for the rest of this particular trim sheet, I think I'd like to see something of a brick option, and then maybe one chunk of stone at the bottom. But before I get into that, someone is saying, how do we do this with 3D? How does we start to apply this with 3D? So let's get started with that. Let's like actually put a little bit more context so that you guys can see what's happening. Okay. Back to over here. This is actually what I meant to do. Put that away. Put that away. Pull up Maya. Now, I hate to break it to you, but 2D work is necessary for 3D art. There's no way around it because all 3D is always textured and materialed with 2D images. Always. There's a lot of tools out there that will make this easier for us as we go, but for now, just keep that in mind, how these things start to inform each other. All right. I want, that's good. That's good. Well, I'll start with the cylinder because the cylinder is very close to the fountain shape that I want for us. Put that into 90. There we go. Boop. All right. I am going to apply the material first. So this is a very strange process to start with a material and then 3D model with it, because all you've ever done before is model the thing so that I know what the material should be. Like, well, there's more than one way to do this now. So let's go ahead and start by just applying the material to it. And I'm going to make sure that I've saved this somewhere. I think I've saved it. I think I saved an earlier version of it, but I want to start with this. So I'm going to hit Control Shift Save. Oh, that's right. This hotkey does not work anymore because Photoshop. So we'll go to Export Quick PNG. That's really what I want. I'll call this trim underscore albedo. You may also call it color or diffuse, whatever you're more comfortable with. In fact, let's keep it simple for now. Call it color. And I will put this on my desktop because I'm a mess. I don't clean my room. And to apply material, some of you may remember this, for others, this is review. That's okay. So to apply material, we're going to go right click, hold that down, go to assign new material. I don't want to use the material that's already on here, but not for any other reason than it's just poor practice. And the material that's on here is called a default. And if I change it, it will change the default for all of my assets that I might have in a scene. So you don't really want to get into a habit of doing that. I don't really care about these shaders in Maya. These shaders are pretty cool, but we're not doing anything for Maya at the end of the day. This is going to eventually be going into Unreal. So it's fine to stick with a Lambert, since for now, all I'm really worried about is the color. So now that I've got that on, I'll go ahead and go to the right click, material attributes now, and it's going to pop up the material settings for our stuff, and you can see it here now. Just move my mug out of the way, please and thank you. All right, I'm going to call this trim underscore matte. That's good practice. Then I'm going to apply the file that I just made by clicking this little checker pattern and then choosing file. So it doesn't know what to apply to it yet. So I want that file there. Now, all I did was tell it what type of way we're applying the material or the color channel, and that is with a file. So now we got to actually go find the file. Go to this little folder right now. Click that. Should pop up something that looks like this. I don't like this window. Don't think it's very friendly. But this is where we go find the file. And I put it on my desktop, which I can find through Administrator at the very top. Don't love that either. Probably part of the reason why this is a very good practice to put stuff on the desktop, but I know where it is if I put it there. So I'll put trim sheet color. That's exactly what I painted. I love it. Love it. It's beautiful work. Boop. All right. Now, let's see here. What I'm going to do is I'm now going to make sure that I've applied the material. Let's click this little guy right here. Woo. Reload. Will you please apply the material? No. Material attributes. It did not apply the material. Please apply the material. I think maybe it just didn't update correctly. There we go. There we go. I'm starting to get a little weird. I'm like, why is it doing that? Why is it doing that? Okay. So now that I've got this on an actual asset in my scene, you can see here, and I'm going to do something really quick. This is a bit of a hack that I've done before. I want to get rid of this cap, but I don't want to go through all of the heartache of selecting every single piece. So I'm going to show you a quick hack I do. I'm going to select this by double clicking the edge. I'm going to apply a quick bevel, just a little bevel. Great. Love it because I'm getting rid of it. Then interface, I'm going to just and select that ring right there and just delete it. That way I can just double click that and get rid of it. Like, I would rather do all of those steps than select every single freaking one of those things. I hate it. Another way to do it very quickly, this is even faster. So if I click and drag with my marquee tool, that whole section, and then deselect the side, I can do the same thing. So now I've got something that is starting to resemble a little bit of a round trim, which will eventually be our fountain. I'm going to play with this as a sketch. I don't really want to kind of go too deep into the weeds of like it being like a whole fountain. Not yet. But like just want to show you how we can start to edit this puppy. So y'all know how to add some lines here. Doop. I'm going to do that here. Doop.
Oh my god, I actually get it now.
Do you get it? Does it all
I
make
get
some
it.
sense now? Oh my gosh.
Interesting way. To,
Right?
This is
to
a
work.
very interesting way to do this. Okay,
Yep.
that makes sense.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. Now you don't even, what's really cool about this is with proper shading, you really don't have to go too far with this. Like you can just do some like low poly kind of, yeah. Let's go to faces and let's just see this guy. I am going to not extrude, but just make larger. I'm gonna do it from here. Whoop. And I think I want to make this guy a little larger. Whoop. Now, I want this to curve though. Like, I don't know, I just want it to curve. That's what I want. That's what I want for it. So I'll add a little there. Now, this is one of my favorite things. You can put it where you want it to go and then rescale it, but if you put it down a little bit and then just move it up, it gives me that curve I like. Feel me? Feel me? It's pretty cool, right? All right. So this is how we can start to go in and then use these trim sheets. Now, like, now thinking about how you can apply this to 3D, you can make more informed decisions about what you would like in your trim sheet. I mentioned what I want to do here, and I recommend you all do the same. I would like at least one, maybe a couple of bricks here, approximately a large. Make a brick, and then maybe one long kind of stone flat piece, similar to up here, but thinner. And when I'm thinking of thinner, I'm thinking of like this guy as my reference. Okay, so Wednesday, I'm going to continue to show you how to start like getting a little bit more painterly and illustrative in the texture of it. But by then, you'll be on track if you just kind of get your blocking for this part done. You'd like to start getting to modeling, you may do that if you would like to. That's what we're eventually leading up to. So is everybody properly excited about where this can go?
Heck yeah.
Woo!
Tools.
All right. The secret ingredient is to have fun as much as you can. If you feel yourself getting stressed out, chill, just like walk away. I am not grading you on how brilliantly painted your trim sheet is. I just want you to practice. But I will be grading you on how you apply it to your mesh. So like play around with it as like a map for yourself. Okay, everyone, 10 minutes early. I'm cutting you out. Cutting you out early. Have a
Does it
wonderful couple of days.
I don't mind.
All right. Thank you.
I'm curious,
Make a lot more sense
does it have
now.
to be in Maya? Can we use Blender?
You do have to do your assignment in Maya, but you can do the same process in
You
Blender.
can? That's-
Yes, you
that's what I was
can. The
wondering
same
if I could
process
just
works in
speak
Blender.
for-
Yes. So the trim sheet method does work. It works. So I'm teaching
Oh,
you
wait,
modeling
yeah.
fundamentals, right? It works in all modeling.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
Woo! Have a great day.